Hey guys, Cigar Surgeon here with another Sharing Our Pairings. This is Sharing Our Pairings episode 63, Soda Pop 3.0. We're broadcast around the world, heard on the Armed Forces Radio Network, heard on podcasts, and of course streaming live at cigarfederation.com and YouTube. If you're checking it out live, make sure to get your questions in the YouTube or on the Google channel. You can check it out on cigarfederation.com. The instructions are there. And we're doing some soda pop pairing today with some epic cigars. I'm joined, as always, with my co-host Robbie Rass. Rob, what's going on, brother?
Well, just living the dream out here in California. Beautiful, sunny, no wind, no rain, California.
Yeah, right. Know all about
No,
that.
no
Mm-hmm.
storms, no nothing.
I don't know what you're talking about. What are
Just
you storms? No
no,
storms.
things are good, man. I'm pumped. We've got some serious sugar coming our way.
Oh my
I'll,
goodness.
I'll tell you what. Well, I'm gonna be jacked all night. I've got some work to do, so after the show, I'll just be flying around getting some work done. But things are good, man.
You're going to be very productive. And of course, the voice you just heard there is our guest, our special guest tonight, Will Cooper from Stogie Geeks. Will, thanks very much for joining in the show.
Hey, thanks guys for having me on. I really appreciate it.
So, of course, you are broadcasting live on location at some undisclosed hotel that we will not name.
On assignment.
On assignment,
Yep.
on assignment. I won't comment if smoking's allowed in this room other than I'm smoking.
Mm, fair enough.
So maybe we should start with our guest, Coop. What are you pairing for a cigar tonight?
I actually have a cigar. It's the Nat Sherman Panamericana. It was originally a house cigar for the Nat Sherman Townhouse in New York, and last year the TAA approached them about um, making it an ongoing TAA release, which is a little different than a lot of the other TAA releases in that it's going to be out every year.
Hmm.
And this is a 4x40 called the Secretos. It's a great blend. It is an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, um, Nicaraguan binder, and a combination of Costa Rican and Nicaraguan filler.
Hmm.
They make this cigar Plasencia, which is different than most of the other Nat Shermans they're making, which come out of Casada. This is a really excellent cigar, and I've been critical of the TAA cigars, but I think this is a really good blend.
Well, I like the idea that it's available after the TAA because, of course, if you don't get your filthy hands on those TAA releases, they go pretty quick. So
Yeah, and a lot of those TAA releases, I think they're limited. I think they're sometimes, this was a blend that was kind of crafted to be an ongoing cigar to begin with because it was Nat Sherman's, it was going to be their townhouse cigar. So, and I just think, like I said, so I think this was really from the ground up as opposed to coming out with a different size or maybe tweaking a blend a bit.
we are smoking something from Epic Cigars now. We were talking offline before you joined in. I think these actually date back. We were trying to source when we got these, and I think these actually date back to the 2014 IPCPR, and they've just been having a nice little nap. And I'm smoking the Epic Corojo Reserva in the Robusto size. And Rob, what are you smoking? Same thing?
Exact same thing.
Exact same thing. So that's good because we can kind of compare notes. I gotta say, Rest has done these well. It's not
Yeah.
quite as spicy off the start as I think I remember this being. It's a
Yeah,
bit
absolutely.
of a spicy meatball.
Yeah, that was the point. That was my reasoning behind picking the cigar. Is I knew we were going really really sweet, obviously with sodas. So I wanted to go with something that had a little bit of spice
Yep.
to it, and kind of didn't that edged on the side of spicy and earthy as opposed to um, sweetness. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, go ahead, Coop.
Yeah, I was going to say Corojo and Sumatra were coming to mind on what to smoke tonight. Those were the two I just had in my head.
Yeah, and I thought about a Camacho um, Corojo, and then we ended up going with Epic because it was something both John and I had our hands on. And I remember smoking the cigar, and I remember it being really spicy. So I thought, great, this will be perfect. But it is smoothed out big time.
Yep,
In
in a good way.
yeah, absolutely. This is frankly, I don't remember thinking too highly of this cigar the first time I smoked it. I remember thinking it was okay, but it wasn't anything that I was going to get excited about. Um,
It's not blowing your skirt up.
Yeah, you put some age on these things, and I'm getting a little bit excited about it.
Well,
It
it's
my
interesting.
skirt is blowing up.
It's interesting because, of course, I can be pretty critical of Dominican tobacco. I think far more so than Nicaraguan tobacco. That's just kind of where my flavor profile lands. But this has got a Dominican Allure binder. It's got Piloto Cabano filler. It's got Piloto Cabano Seco and Ligeros. And again, when we smoked this a couple years ago, this was just, I mean, it's pretty much short of a fireball. Like it just started out so hot, and now it starts off with a nice zip of pepper and spice, but then it's got this really great creaminess underneath. So I think it's still probably got enough pepper to go well with these extremely sweet beverages, but not too much to blow your nasal cavity away.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit. Oh, hello! As I drop it, trying to. It's a rookie mistake, man. I'm trying to manage the cameras here because John's got wind issues. Although looks like it's calmed down a little bit for
I,
him, but
I, I think I'm good. I think I don't need to worry about building an arc. I think the worst of it is passed by. We've got our what, eighth of an inch of rain, tenth of an inch of rain.
yeah, there you go. So anyway, I was trying to pick up my cigar, put it in my mouth, and change the camera anyway. So that's why I dropped my freaking cigar. But we can move forward.
Why don't we talk about pairings? I mean, that's what we're here for, to talk about pairings. We've got some interesting pairings tonight. We've kind of departed from our normal alcohol binge, where we get a little crazy, get a little loose, and we've had a lot of requests to come back and do another pop show. So I'm kind of excited. Coop, I'm kind of interested to see your lineup. You posted the thing on Facebook and kind of perked my interest. So why don't pique my interest? So why don't you talk about your first pairing there?
Well, okay, so there's a theme with I'd say most of these sodas, and it's cane sugar. And I'll be honest, I don't remember if you talked about cane sugar on the last two shows, but the sodas I'm talking about are using the natural cane sugar, which it's actually I find it less sweet.
Yep.
I've heard, yeah, it is less sweet. So I find, there are people probably saying you can't pair cigars with soda. You can pair whatever you want to pair with things, but I think these sodas, for the most part, with the exception of one, are going to pair well with, like I said, a cigar like a spicy cigar. Like this Nat Sherman's got a little bit of spice to it. Um, so the first soda I have is a brand, and it's called Jones. Have you heard of Jones?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep.
And I'm drinking their root beer, which is a pure cane root beer, and again, it's the soda where you're gonna get more of that root beer flavor, and there's just enough sweetness in there that it's not gonna attack or assault your palate in any way. I find that this pairs well with pretty much any type of cigar that you have. I mean, I went through a lot of these sodas. I must have gained like 1,000 calories every time going through these, right? Um, and I mean, I went from a Connecticut to some more spicier cigars, to some of the full body broadleafs, and I just found this was a really nice fit with it.
Rob, of course, has a standing pairing challenge to anyone out there to find a cigar that does not pair with a root beer. Because root beer we found consistently kind of
Absolutely.
just goes with everything.
Now
Well, and it's real. I was worried that you guys were gonna like crap all over me with that because I wasn't sure, but I do find it works very well. I mean,
no,
Welcome to the
abs-
show. Now we're going to crap all over you.
yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I've got a root beer tonight. I don't think I'm going to start with it. I've cheated and I've tasted all these sodas in advance because not a big soda guy. I do enjoy kind of the standards of Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper every now and again. But and when we did this show before, I had that kind of, I don't remember what kind of cola it was, but it was like an herbal, organic, some weird nonsense cola, but it was fantastic. And I looked for it again, but I couldn't find it. So I kind of ran the gamut here. I'm going to start with far and away the sweetest of the sodas that I'll be trying here tonight. And this is the original. Dang, that's good. Red cream soda.
Now I got to say,
Dang.
I saw your picture, Rob, and I am a huge fan of red cream sodas. So I saw that and I went, man, I really should have got my hands on a red cream soda because I
I
love red cream sodas.
I didn't even know red cream soda was a thing.
Hmm.
I knew that cream soda was a thing. Obviously, we've had it on the show, and I'm a fan of cream soda. And so I just going through Bevmo, they've got this huge aisle of all these different sodas. They had, and I still, every time we do a soda show, I see the bacon soda, and I think, okay, finally I'll do the bacon soda this time,
No,
but I just can't
no,
bring
don't do
myself
it.
to do it.
Don't do it, bro. It's not worth it.
So this Dang Cola comes from Imperial Flavors Beverage Company, I believe, and they have a few different versions actually. There is an Italian cherry soda that I saw there. Oh, there's a whole thing here. They've got a root beer. Ooh, a butterscotch root beer.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
That does sound really. It sounds sweet too, though.
Yep.
The red cream soda and an Italian cherry soda, along with diet root beer and diet butterscotch root beer. So, just a few different things from those guys. As you can see, bright red.
Almost glow in the dark.
Yeah, it's kind of got that phosphorescent thing happening, and these glasses were a gift. I don't know if you can see, but
Mm-hmm.
it's they're maps. So my wife picked these up for me for Christmas from all the major cities in the U.S. that we've been to. This one happens to be Los Angeles, but just kind of a fun thing, and we'll go through that as the night goes on. But I'm going to start with the dang and see how it goes.
Before I get into my pairing, I just want to remind our audience they're tuned into Sharing Our Pairings, episode 63, Soda Pop 3.0, with special guest Coop. Will Coop from Stogie Geeks is joining us tonight. Thanks very much for all our Armed Forces Radio Network listeners, for all our podcast listeners out there, whether you're listening through subscription or download or whatever. We just appreciate you tuning into the show. Toss us an up vote, up thumb, up arrow, whatever gets us a plus. We're a five-star rated podcast on iTunes, and we like to keep that rating. If you're listening through iTunes, make sure to toss us a review. We appreciate it. So, no show would be complete, and I do not think we have featured this on the show yet. Jarrito Mexican Cola.
Oh, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit.
Fantastic. So, I have not actually had a Mexican Cola before, and they're readily available up here. I'm like Rob. I don't drink a lot of colas, mostly because I'm kind of reaching across myself here because I got a weird setup tonight to avoid being rained on, but none of the listeners can hear that, just the ones that are tuned in live. Regardless, I don't drink a lot of pops. Trying to keep healthy, and so pops are not really a part of my regular rotation, maybe once a week, but we're just downing it like crazy tonight. So you can see I do not have fancy glasses like Rob. It's approaches like a regular cola, although a little bit thinner. It's not quite as, thick as a Coke might be, or a Pepsi, or a Dr. Pepper. They describe they've got a really cool website. If you go to Jarrito, they've got a really interesting background on the company. It started in 1950 in Mexico. They started making beverages, and I don't want to call it pop, but it's a beverage. It's real fruit with sugar, very classic, very homemade. They describe this particular beverage as being so rich, made with 100% real sugar from Mexico, and something else. Not really science, but top secret. So I don't know what that something else is, but it's tasty. It's not, I would say it's, talking about colas, I find that a lot of colas, Coke and Pepsi, Coke has sort of a very acrid finish to it, which I like. Pepsi is very, very sugar forward for me, almost too sugar. This is almost got a citrus finish to it. So it's not very, very sweet like a cola. It does have a little bit of sweetness, but then it finishes almost, like I said, with a little bit of citrus, which is nice. So I'm going to sip on that while you guys talk about your pairing.
All right, Coop, you're up, man.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I'll talk about my Mexican Cola in a little bit. I want to stay with the root beer theme. My next one is a brand called Hanson's. This is Hanson's Creamy Root Beer. Now, are you familiar with Hanson's?
But yeah, they do the like the fruit sodas and
They do
things like that. Yeah,
Monster's
yeah.
theirs. So I'll say that this root beer is completely different than the Jones. It is a light root beer. It's not going to have that heavy root beer taste to it. So it has more of the creaminess. And this is a cigar. I mean, this is a pairing I would recommend with a lighter cigar.
Okay.
So I've actually smoked it with an Epernay. I've smoked it with some Connecticut Shades. And again, it's like I said, it's something that I found complemented it pretty nicely. And this is, like I said, if you don't want that heavy root beer taste, this is an excellent. I found this an excellent pairing too. And they're available in, I think, nationwide in most stores right now too. So it's a pretty easy. You go to the soda aisle or natural food store, you should be able to find it.
Yeah, I see them all the time at Trader Joe's. I don't know if Trader Joe's is national.
Yeah, we have them in Charlotte.
Okay,
We
yeah.
do have.
So Trader Joe's has them, Safeway, and you'll always see them at like a Whole Foods or a shop like that.
But if you haven't had it, I found that this is a very different root beer than the Jones. I mean, they're just completely different. In fact, yeah, that's what I'll just say. There's not much I can say in common other than this one has more of that. It is a creamy root beer. This one.
Interesting. Yeah, it seems I've got a root beer coming up, and it's going to be, I think, my third drink tonight, and it's different than other root beers that I've had. It's doesn't have that creamy aspect to it.
Yeah.
Um,
How's that first pairing going for you guys?
for me, well, we've got an audience question that fills into my first pairing here. Eric Johnson wants to know what's a red cream soda. Um, I, John, you seem to like red cream sodas. For me, it tastes just like a cream soda. It's really really sweet, but it almost has, and this is probably more placebo than anything else, has a little bit of a cherry note to it.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
really
it could be 100% placebo, but
yeah.
that's to me a cream soda is more in the creaminess, and a red cream soda is more on a little bit of fruit with the cream soda. So it is a different flavor to me. I prefer a red cream soda, but they're very very hard to find for whatever reason.
Well, I know a place, but yeah, it does have when you say it like that, it doesn't have that creamy texture that a cream soda does have. Has that I don't want to say over the top sweetness, but that sweet flavor to it. And there is a little bit of fruit in this one. The pairing for me is fine. It's not anything special. I feel like the cigar is almost my palate cleanser in this because this cream soda weighs kind of heavily on the palate, kind of palate coating, if you will. Um, Not to the point where it's getting in the way of the flavors I'm getting from the cigar. I think the spice factor has popped up a little bit to kind of combat the sweetness that I'm getting. But I mean, it's a fine pairing. I'm not overly excited about it though.
Well, I can tell you my first pairing was okay. It did not blow my skirt up. The beverage is almost a little too sweet actually to go with this cigar. I find that the even with not being a full-on cola, it's just too sweet. Fantastic on its own. I think I would definitely buy that if I was craving a cola, but on its own, not so much. From a
How's your pairing going, Coop?
It's going good. I mean, as far as I would say the root beer, the Jones was definitely a little better. I said this Hanson's one, the Sumatra is going to overpower it a
Mm,
bit, which is why I recommend that with a lighter cigar.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, so let's
pairing
see.
number dos,
Yeah, you want to jump into number two? We've got four of them, so we
we
may
got
as
four of
well.
them, so we might as well just move right
I
Nice.
I
along.
I have a couple extras, but I could do two at once. So
Yeah, Coop, the overachiever.
Plus, we've got an
Um,
After Dark segment, so you can always pull them out in the
okay,
After Dark segment
yeah,
as well.
and
okay,
we've got a handful of audience questions here too that we can get
awesome.
through.
Maybe we can get to
Um,
that after the second pairing here.
yeah, I'll jump into my second pairing here. It's from John. I think you have one from this company as well, Boylan Bottling Company,
I do.
and this is their black cherry Coop, like you were saying, cane sugar. This
Great
one is
sodas, the Boylans.
this. Like I said, I cheated and I had these beforehand. This is fantastic.
Yep.
This is really, really, really good. Um, uh, Bevmo had a bunch of different options from Boylan. They had everything from a root beer to a cola to just about everything in between, and all kinds of different fruit sodas and everything. So I was drawn to the black cherry. I'm a black cherry soda guy. I do like that black cherry soda, and they're not that easy to find either. It's not that common, I guess. Let me see if I got a little bit of information on Boylan. They've been around since 1891, and they it looks like well, the pricing for a 12 pack of these is $31.50 for the black cherry from their website. But they've got a bunch of different things that they offer here. They've got different sodas from a cream soda all the way up to they got a birch beer, whatever that is.
That's what I'll
Uh,
be pairing.
and oh, you have the birch beer. Oh,
I
it's funny
do.
that's the one I chose to comment on. They have a creamy red birch beer, Shirley Temple, which I actually almost bought that one just because it seemed to have some. Uh, Everybody knows what a Shirley Temple is. They've got sparkling cider. They've got a lot of different things, and diet sodas, seltzers. They've got mixers for cocktails. It looks like. So yeah, check out boylanbottling.com, Boylan, if you want to get some more information on that. But yeah, I'm gonna go with this one. This one's coming out of the Chicago glass, which is really hard to see, but um, it's dark. It doesn't have a lot of. It's funny. We're pouring these things before the show, and I'm used to seeing such a big head on the stuff that we pour because I'm used to it being beer, and it's not conditioned the same way. The effervescence is so much stronger, but it doesn't settle at the top like that. But I'm curious to see how this is going to work. What do you guys have next?
So I got the Pepsi Ginger, which we got a few comments on. So this is actually marketed in the United States. Originally, the packaging was this, but they changed it up. And if you look in this store, you'll see an 1893 in a taller can. It's a 12-ounce can. It'll be called 1893 Original Cola or 1893 Ginger Cola. Now, I kind of cheated and had this before the show because I hadn't cracked one. It's actually really tasty. However, this is taking me back to our first Soda Pop show where you
Mm-hmm.
had a ginger ale
Mm-hmm.
and you had a cigar.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a good pairing. This is a very, very bad pairing. Ginger and cigars. I think we
Bingo.
can just put that one to bed. It is not a, now. I just want to give some props to the soda because the soda is actually really good. It's because I don't really like ginger ale. I'm not a fan of ginger ale. I grew up drinking ginger ale when I'm 6, so maybe there's some kind of weird psychological association. But it's this great combination of just the right amount of cola without being sickeningly sweet, just the right amount of ginger ale without that sort of quinine taste. It's good. I think I'm going to bring this back to the show for the cocktail show and maybe do some funky cocktails with it because it's really interesting. But pairing with a cigar, oh, you should. I mean, look at the video. The faces I was making is no bueno. It's no bueno.
That brings. I had mentioned when Coop was talking about these different ginger beers and things like that. That goes back to that show with the La Gloria. I think it was the black or the Esteli that I was smoking, and I tried to pair it with just a standard, I think Canada Dry ginger ale,
Hmm.
and whew, just that combination of flavors tastes like vomit.
It's
It's
nasty.
yeah, it's bad times. Coop, are you having that same experience?
Yeah. So in fact, when I was no, not the vomit, but in general, for the pairing of ginger, which I was kind of curious where you guys were going to go with the ginger, because my best practice was do not drink ginger ale and do not drink ginger beer. Um, Now, ginger beer is very good. Um, this Fever Tree I find is
That's good stuff.
really one of the better ones. They use three different types of ginger in there. But this will suffocate any cigar you have. They
It's
call it a light ginger beer
it's
too,
a
right?
great way to say it.
But here's where I'll say the plus with a ginger beer is it will reset your palate.
That's true.
It will.
That's a good point.
It will
Um,
reset it, and it will reset it quick.
yeah, absolutely.
It
Quick
won't
style.
because it won't. Especially the Fever Tree, which I have drank. It's a clean finish on the ginger ale, so the ginger it's not going to linger for hours and hours. But if you wait like a half hour, 45 minutes, you'll find your palate's reset.
Hmm. Yeah, that's that Fever Tree. We've the wife and I like to mess around with cocktails, and we use their tonic a lot. Their tonic is really good.
Yeah, and they're all natural with this. And but boy, Fever Tree, you're gonna taste. You want to taste ginger. I mean, and I like ginger ale, but this is what I'd say more potent.
It's got that kind of that almost burning spice you can feel almost in the back of your nose there.
Yeah, I
That's
mean
right where it gets you.
it will suffocate. It's definitely gonna suffocate the Nat Sherman. I took a few sips of it, but I took a very light sip of it. But yeah, it's don't. My advice is don't have a cigar with it. You know, it's funny. They sell. Boy, Abe's gonna kill me for saying this. He sells them at Smoke Inn in his cigar bar, and I almost want to say something like, don't sell that. If you want to sell cigars,
Maybe it's a good thing to have in between cigars. You have your first
yeah,
smoke. There you go.
I think it is a resetter,
Yeah.
and I would definitely encourage folks to give it because it's very good. It is very good.
Ginger beer is interesting. One of my favorite cocktails is a dark and stormy, and that features ginger beer pretty prominently.
Yeah.
And you can there's a lot of different styles of ginger beer.
Yeah.
I don't have the names in front of me, but we've got two or three different ones. One that's a bit more spicy. There's one called Cock and Bull that's actually really good, and it comes in those large like tall boy cans that you can reseal, which is kind of nice if you're making cocktails. You might not use them all that night or whatever, and it still lasts for a few days.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that's got the little pull cap on it. It's in the short, fat bottles with the yellow label. I can't think of the name, but it's a lot sweeter. So there's definitely different versions. To get back to my pairing here with this Boylan's Black Cherry, this is really good.
Yep.
I love a black cherry soda. I've said that already, but up front you get that kind of sweet cherry flavor, but this has a really tart finish to it. So when, at the end of every sip, you're hit with that tart cherry, that sour cherry note at the end. And that almost acts as a palate cleanser here. I don't know that the flavors of the of the soda do anything for the cigar. I'm getting more of that spice, but the richness in the cigar is coming out too. It's got that rich backbone of flavor, and that bright tart finish really does, like you say, kind of reset the palate just before every puff. So I think it serves its purpose more than it actually pairs well, if that makes sense.
I think so. Just a reminder to our audience, you're tuned into Sharing Our Pairings, episode 63, Soda Pop 3.0, with special guest Will Cooper from Stogie Geeks. I'm your host, John the Cigar Surgeon, joined as always by my co-host, Robbie Rass. We're doing some cigar pairings and Soda Pop 3.0. And maybe we should get into that audience question before I get into my. I'm kind of cheating here to cleanse my palate of the interesting taste of ginger,
Yeah, me
and
too.
talk about that in a minute. So, yeah, let's get into that audience question, Rob.
Let's see. I'm gonna go with this one from Eric because it's um, it's topical, but it's kind of talking about a trend as well. He says, "Hey gents, what is your take on the current wave of alcoholic sodas, the Not Your Father's Root Beer and the things of the like?" He says, "I'm not a huge fan, excuse me, but maybe you can convince me to check some of these brands out." Now, I'll answer for me. The only one I've had is the Not Your Father's Root Beer, and to me, it had a very synthetic chemical kind of taste to it. Um, John, I don't know if you've tried any of them, but
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, I think.
yeah, it's almost like that flavor that you get from like a Coke Zero, or when they try to give you like gluten-free, no sugar, no caffeine Coke, and they take everything out and they try to put it all back in using, I don't know, the science lab and trying to make it taste that way.
Yeah.
That's what it tastes like to me. I'd rather just have a root beer myself.
And my palate is particularly sensitive to that. It's part of the reason why I can't drink Diet Pop is that chemical nature, that artificialness. It just does something to my palate. I do not like it, and I find that comes through a lot on those alcoholic pops. It just immediately I have a couple sips and I'm immediately going, nope, can't do it. How about
Yeah.
you, Coop?
You know, I've seen some trends in the past. Well, we had in the late 80s was the wine cooler trend that
Hmm.
came and went. Then I'd say 10 years later, the hard lemonade came in. That kind of had its moment. It hasn't completely phased out. And now I'm looking at these alcoholic sodas and I'm kind of questioning the longevity of that as well. I think it's more of a short-term fad. I don't know how sustainable it is just based on those past experiences.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it falls into that category of like Zimas and
Yep.
like you were saying, wine coolers, the Barnles and James. I always remember those two old guys sitting
Oh,
on their porch. Thank you for your
for their
support.
support. Yeah,
I remember those guys, who probably had nothing to do with the company, by the way. But
yeah.
yeah, and you can almost throw cider into that, but cider's been around for a while. I think cider is popular now.
Cider.
Um,
I don't think cider's ever died, and cider is bigger, I think, in Europe, in parts of Europe too.
sure, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, cider's always been there to some extent, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah, and it runs along the same lines as beer. I mean, it's been around probably just as long.
But it doesn't have again, it doesn't have that synthetic thing that you just talked
Exactly.
about. That I
Yeah.
think all those other things do have a synthetic like component or texture to it.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, you can really kind of break it up where you had your in the 80s you had your wine coolers and then in the 90s as well. And then your Zimas and your Smirnoff Ice and
Yep.
stuff like that. And then Budweiser does the Limeritas and those nonsense and it's that stuff just kind of, and you're right, it does come and go. This trend has taken off and skyrocketed pretty quickly to the point where it's, you get I see alcoholic root beer, I see alcoholic ginger beer. Those are the main things that I've seen.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's all kinds of alcoholic cream soda. Who knows? But it's not my thing. But a lot of people like it. So I mean, I guess it is what it is.
That's what I would say too.
Yeah.
Quick shout out that I saw a tweet a few days ago from Oscar Blues Brewery, and Oscar Blues is actually putting out a line of sodas. So there's no weird alcoholic funk to it. They're just putting out a line of straight up sodas, and they've got a root beer, they've got a ginger beer, they've got a cream soda, a black cherry, and an orange cream, which is a pretty good lineup. So you can check that out at Oscar Blues.
They just bought Cigar City Brewing,
They
I
did.
believe. I believe
Huge
that's the
news.
case. Yeah, that's a big deal. I like Oscar Blues. Excuse me. Everything I've had out of them, although I haven't had their regular lines, their IPAs and things, and I've been told they're very good. But the stuff that I've had from them, I mean, we've talked about the Death by Coconut, but their stuff has been in 1050 stuff I've really enjoyed. So that's good to see. I'm glad to see them expanding. You want to do another question, or you want to go into our next deal?
I'm going to talk about my third pairing here because
Oh,
I'm just drinking away,
all
and
right,
then we can maybe hop on that question. This
perfect.
is, of course, a boil and release. And I like Boylan's. I like their approach to sodas. I like the taste of their soda. It tastes very authentic to me, you know, sort of old school. And this is the birch beer. Now, for those of you who don't know what a birch beer is, it's kind of a classic take on a root beer. And the way I would describe it is pretty much the way that they describe it on the website. They say it's a distinctively minty and sharp taste with strong notes of sweet birch and wintergreen oil. Now that might sound a little funky. So the way I would describe it is imagine a root beer sort of tuned down a little bit with a hint of wintergreen and just a little bit of birch sort of to finish. It's a really interesting combination. I thought the wintergreen, as I tasted it, would kind of overwhelm, but it's only there for a second. It goes away. It's a fantastic palate cleanser. It's very tasty. It doesn't overwhelm the cigar. It's very different, but not different in a bad way. It's different in a I've never paired something like this before, and it's interesting.
Oh,
Cool.
hey, Coop, what are you going with next?
Um, okay, I'm going to talk about this one. Laugh. People may laugh, but they may know why. I'm saying this. It's Coca-Cola, but it's not your ordinary Coca-Cola. It's Mexican Coca-Cola,
Real
That
sugar, right?
magic cane sugar.
the magic cane sugar, which it does not have that high fructose corn syrup. Um, this is, and I don't drink a lot of regular high fructose Coca-Cola, but I went and kind of compared the two. This is very good with a cigar. Okay, it's it's a lighter Coke. So this Coke is it's not going to coat the palate very heavy. You can go with it with it will go very well with this Sumatra, but it will go well, I think, with a cigar on the medium or medium minus. Now the flavor I get from this thing is really interesting. Have you ever like when I was younger, they used to sell Coke syrup in the pharmacy to soothe your throat. This you get some of that Coke syrup. You actually get a little bit of that Coke syrup, but it's not very heavy. As opposed to, if you had Moxie soda ever,
I have not.
Moxie soda
Not
is,
here
and I
either.
was trying to get it for the show, and I could not get it in time. Moxie soda is it's a very heavy Coke syrup flavor you'll get that would go really good with a San Andreas. But this one is lighter, and like I said, I was surprised how well. And I have to give my friend Scott McClure credit. He was the one who said you need to try the Mexican Coke because I think it's going to go well with what you're doing with this show. I had not had it until a few weeks ago, and I was really impressed with it.
I think you put it in really well there when you're talking about how it coats the palate because I do find that, and I do enjoy Coke, but
Right.
the sugar really does almost put a film on your tongue and it makes it very, very tough to taste a lot of nuances in a cigar. Whereas the cane sugar, it's sweet, but there's no thick mouth coating to it. It just goes away and you can still taste the nuances in the cigar.
Yeah.
Rob, what do you got on deck?
All right, for pairing number three, I'm going with my root beer. And I had no idea, but this has been around forever. It's called, it's Triple X root beer.
Triple X.
It makes thirst a joy, apparently. And I don't know, I was attracted to the bottle, and it's that's from Homer Soda Company. And if you go to their site, you can see this. I'm not going to read through it, but the history goes back to 1900, and they've been making Triple X root beer that long, apparently.
You know,
And
Rob,
it's what's
Boylan
that?
started in 1891.
That's true. They
Yeah.
did, but that it says that right on the bottle though, so you kind of have an idea. Maybe it says it on the bottle here, and I just wasn't paying attention. But um, it's been around for a while. I'm not going to go through the story, and if you guys want to check it out, you can at their website, homersoda.com, and just look up the Triple X root beer. But like Coop, like you were talking about earlier, it's got a this is a different style of root beer than I'm used to. When I go for a artisan root beer, if you will, I usually one that I always reach for is Henry Weinhardt's because I always see that in Safeway, and you can get a 6-pack of it. It's relatively cheap, but it's got that real creamy texture to it, like you were talking about, and I really like that.
Creamy.
This is a much more crisp, much more clean flavor. It doesn't linger on the palate near as much. It doesn't have that strong root beer flavor to it. So it's I don't want to say it's lighter. It's a bit sweeter though. And the pairing almost isn't it almost isn't that good. I lost my own bet to myself maybe, but
Uh-oh.
I don't think it's the cigar. I think it's more of the style of root beer because maybe it's a classic, more traditional style that I'm just not familiar with.
More
Um,
sarsaparilla style.
yeah, I mean, I like maybe that's a good way to put it. But I tasted it on its own and it's fantastic by itself. But the pairing, I don't know. I need to give it a couple more. I'm going to give it a little more attention here.
So I would say that this birch beer, although very, very different, so far is the best pairing of the night. The beverage itself is not too sweet, which is great. It's not coating my palate, which is nice. The wintergreen is different and funky and something I haven't really tasted before when I've done pairing, so that's good. I'm not sure this cigar is necessarily the right combination, though. I would probably go, and Coop was talking about some San Andreas Maduro. I think a San Andreas Maduro with this boil and birch beer would go really well because you get a little bit more spice, you get some of that cocoa, and I think cocoa in the wintergreen might be an interesting combination to play off. So I might have to revisit this in the future with something with a San Andreas Maduro wrapper. Rob, do we have other audience questions queued up there?
Hmm.
As I catch you as you take a drink,
Yep.
as I
Yep.
always do.
Middle sip. That's
Mm-hmm.
all right. Bob Dog. This is more for the group, and it's topical because I'm drinking a root beer. What's your favorite root beer of all time? If you've got one, I don't know if I have one.
My gut says just immediately. My gut went A&W.
Just
Just
old school
boom,
classic.
just old school classic A&W. It's got that really nice creamy texture to it, not too sugary, not too root beerish. To me, it's just the classic root beer. I'm sure I've had better root beers, but my go-to has got to be A&W.
What about
What
you,
about
Coop?
Hires root beer.
What is it again?
Hires, Hires.
Okay.
Uh, they were more, I think, in the Northeast, but Dr. Pepper bought them up, and I used to drink that stuff all the time as a kid. So I don't think it's a national brand per se. But yeah, Dr. Pepper and Snapple bought them, I think, probably 15 or 20 years ago. But yeah, it's a really good root beer.
Hmm. I'll have to look for that one. I think for me, I would have to go back to that Henry Weinhardt's, which I mean, I know back in the day, I think Henry Weinhardt still makes beer, but
Jones is very good too. 'Cause I didn't mean to interrupt, but Jones is very good too, I should say.
yeah, I haven't tried any of the Jones sodas, or maybe I have. They make all the funky ones, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
All the bright colors and like corn
got a cool
flavor.
story on the
yeah,
back of the
yeah.
bottle.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't tried much of their stuff. I've seen it, and that was one of those things. They were really popular for a while. You'd see it in Safeway and everything. Now you don't see it as much. They still have them at Bevmo, but I haven't tried them. But yeah, I would have to go with that Henry Weinhardt's because it's that draft style root beer that's you pour it. It's got the thick head on it, and
Hmm.
it's nice and creamy. It's got that flavor. That's what I think of. Excuse me when I think of a root beer. So that would probably be mine. Um, to go with that. We've got a couple more audience questions here, but we can probably save those for later.
Very good. So we'll get cracking on our fourth pairing here, and I'm going with something very different. I'm not sure how good this is going to be, but it's Pick a Pop, which is a local Canadian company. They're based out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, founded in 1971. Just a small local manufacturer of soda pops, and I've had them before. I don't think I've had the blue raspberry. I mean, I kind of wanted to go pretty funky with my fourth pairing. You know, I tend to get a little off the rails with my pairings. It's got an odd color to it. I'm not sure what to expect. They did expand into the United States. They're actually in Minnesota and Texas and Hawaii, but you know they kind of had a bit of a fallback in the late 90s. As I think a lot of pop companies didn't do well in the late 90s, but they're kind of coming back. So I'm going to do a pour of this. Coop, maybe you can talk about your fourth pairing here while I take a little sippy sip.
Yeah, so the next one, and I was like I said, I had plans to do three Mexican or three colas actually. The Moxie was the third. So if I kind of when I talked about the Coke, the Mexican Coke being the light and the Moxie being the full, this main root See if I can get it in. Falls right in the middle. So you're gonna get a little more of that Coke syrup taste that's gonna coat the palate. This goes really good with my Sumatra, believe it or not. I just find it's. I was surprised. I'm surprised how well it's pairing. I've been drinking a few of these as we've been talking. So again, I would say the Coke little lighter on the cola syrup. This one's gonna go into that medium range right now. Main Root makes some really interesting sodas as well on their website. So they have quite a few interesting ones out there that you could check out. But this is a very, very good cola too to try. And this would also, when you start getting into the heavier colas, that's I think going to go well with San Andreas.
We actually featured Main Root on it was either our first or second Soda Pop show. I
I had not,
had
yeah, I not had till this go around actually.
yeah this that was the first time that I had it too. I had their pumpkin pie soda.
Yeah, they have some like weird sodas. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember liking it. I don't remember if the pairing was any good, but I remember enjoying it, and it tastes exactly the way you'd think it would taste. It's like pumpkin pie, but a soda. I was looking around the soda aisle for my pairings, and I found this was the first one I grabbed, and it just seemed like such an absolute no-brainer for me to go with. Like, how do I even say their name? Borgnine's. Borgnine's? Borgnine's coffee soda.
Hmm.
Now I'm thinking cigars, we're doing soda, coffee soda, that makes way too much sense to ignore. So I went with that. Let's see if there's any information here from Borgnine's. Oh, they're actually in Los Angeles, California. It's delicious and rich and refreshing, and it's a one of a kind coffee soda. It was created by Nancy Borgnine in living memory of her father, Ernest Borgnine. I see, I didn't even know that.
Well,
It's
that
rich.
explains the name.
There you go. So I guessed right with the pronunciation. I'm horrible at pronouncing names. Its rich coffee flavor and sparkling carbonation make it a refreshment you'll enjoy anytime.
Is there actually coffee in it? Like,
That's
is it?
it's like you were ready for what I was going to read next. It's perfect.
He's a professional. He
It
does
was a
this every
perfect
day.
question.
I got a
It's
coffee soda too. That's why we'll go with that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It's coffee soda is brewed with rich Italian roast coffee, and is all natural, has no artificial flavors or colors, no preservatives, and is sweetened with raw cane sugar. So this checks all the boxes for you, Coop. You're gonna have to check this one out.
Yeah.
It doesn't say what type of coffee, what brand, or anything like that. It just says Italian. That's the only thing it says.
Have you had a good Italian dark roast coffee before, Rob?
Italian dark roast coffees? Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if it was good. I enjoyed it, but I mean, maybe there was better ones. But yeah, I don't know if I haven't had it in Italy, but maybe Little Italy in San Francisco.
Pretty much the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, sure, why not? So yeah, I'm gonna check this one out. I snuck a taste beforehand, and I have a feeling this is gonna go really well. So we'll see.
So I'm going to talk about this pairing, and then I'm going to move on because,
That good, huh?
well, so this tastes exactly as it looks. If you're harken back to your younger days of having freezies, and you remember all the different freezy colors, and they had like the red freezies and the pink freezies and whatever. The blue freezy, if you can conjure the taste of a blue freezy in your mind, that is exactly what this tastes like. Literally tastes like someone emptied a blue freezy into my glass. It's not terrible, but with a cigar, this is not good. It's got that freezy twang, that chemical freezy twang at the end of the taste, and that is not a good combination with a cigar. This is not a good pairing combination. On its own, this would be interesting, but with a cigar, no, no way.
It's like a melted icy, huh?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No good.
Coop,
Coop.
how is yours going here?
Very good. Very good. I got past the ginger beer thing actually pretty quick because I didn't take a huge sip of it. But no, it's very good so far.
So for me, this coffee's working out, and it's pairing pretty well. It's got a sweet, like a very sweetened coffee finish to it, and it reminds me of out here on the West Coast we have See's candy. I don't know if that's something that is national or not, but they make these coffee chews, the little candies. They're like tiny little things. They're wrapped in foil or whatever, and you pop them open and they
Oh
taste.
yeah, I love those. Those are
Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah,
that's exactly what this tastes like.
that's interesting.
It tastes exactly like those coffee chews that have that rich coffee flavor up front, but that's sweet on the finish,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what I'm getting from this, and it's pairing really really well. It's kind of expect what I expected it to be. It's a bit sweeter than I was hoping for, but it pairs really well. It's bringing out more of that spice on the Epic, which I'm getting into the second half here, and so that spice is kicking up, and this is where I thought the cigar was going to be at the beginning. So while we're talking, we still have some time. I might go back through and see how these pair with this cigar kicking out a little bit more spice.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a little taste of my birch beer here just to reset my palate because yeah, that blue freezy pick a pop just it was too much,
It's
too
not
much.
doing it for you.
No.
So Coop, you have a coffee soda as well?
Yeah, and this is one I believe I've mentioned to you. It is called Manhattan Special.
You have mentioned that to me before.
Yeah. So the backstory of this is, when I was a kid, they used to sell this in New York. I drank it and thought it was horrible, right? Because it wasn't like high fructose syrup or anything. But this is this, as you get older, you get wiser. This is the dean of coffee sodas, in my opinion. They put espresso in this.
Ooh.
Okay, so it is a rich espresso flavor you get with it. They put the cane sugar in it. It's not a heavy carbonation that you get in it. It goes great with. I mean, it's not going super great with the Sumatra wrapper, but it goes great with a broadleaf, and it goes
Hmm.
great with a San Andreas for Maduro. And this is just. I mean, I think it's one of the best sodas out there. And for folks looking for it, Soda Emporium online has it. So let me tell another story with this. I didn't have this soda with me when I got to well, I'm in Florida. Folks haven't figured it out, but um, and I was really bummed, right? So I walked into Smoke Inn, Abe's store, and I see a sign for Manhattan Special at the bar. And I went to the bar. I said, wow, I'm looking for this. Can you give me 2 bottles to take back? They said, oh yeah, yeah, we just got it in today. It was the first time they were selling it then.
Oh wow.
And I was like, wow, because I really wanted to have this on the show, and I could not get my hands on it. Because I didn't put an order in with Soda Emporium in time. But I really recommend you guys try this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look for that. The wife and I are taking a trip to the East Coast in May, and we're gonna be up in New York for a few days, so I'm sure I'll be able to find it when I'm up there.
I mean, yeah, if you need any help with New York, let me navigate New York. Let me know. But yeah, you'll
Absolutely,
find it. You'll have no problem finding this in New York.
absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. And you say that go with the San Andreas or a broadleaf. I think that would work well with this Borgnine's coffee soda as well. John, are you?
I have to try that one.
Yeah, it's I don't know how it compares to the one that you're having because I mean obviously I haven't had it yet, but it's a little bit sweeter, so it's probably going to be sweeter than the one that you've got. But
This
it's
is
got
one of the sweeter. I would say this as on the sweetness meter of everything I've drank today. This is probably the sweetest
oh
still,
oh
but
okay.
it's not. But again, there's a very heavy espresso component to this that's gonna balance that out.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll definitely have to look that up. John,
yeah.
have you recovered from your icy yet?
I have, and I think I'm kind of going back through the pairings, and it's just really reiterating. I think what I came to the conclusion of that the ginger, just I mean, I think we can pretty much close the case on any kind of ginger pairing, at least on its own. I think it'd be really interesting in a dark and stormy. In fact, that's kind of where my head is going. Is that
Hmm.
this ginger cola is probably exactly what you'd want for a really nice dark and stormy. So might have to play around with that for a cocktail 2.0 show. The Juarito is good, and I think that's probably one of the better cane sugar colas that I've had because again, it's such a clean cola taste. But for pairing, this boiling, hands down the winner tonight. I mean, I kind of set it up a little bit because some of these colas, were kind of out there, but. You guys talking about this coffee soda, that's got me really intrigued to get my hands on some of those.
Yeah, definitely. If if you see it, this is the first time I've ever seen one. This was the only one that they had. It wasn't. It's not like there was a coffee soda section, but it was.
It's hard to find it down here. I mean, Soda Emporium is really the only place I've been able to get it.
That's yeah, that's interesting. And like I said, I didn't realize that there was such a thing as coffee soda. But when I saw it, I figured it was a no-brainer, and that's the best pairing. I don't want to say far and away, but that's the best pairing of the night for me. Um, excuse me. The my most surprising pairing. Pardon me with all the effervescence. The The Boylan's Black Cherry, for me, is the most surprising. I picked it up mainly because I like black cherry soda. I didn't think that the pairing would be. I figured it would be fine. It's the pairing was actually really good with that tart finish. Really acted as kind of a palate cleanser in a way. I was disappointed with the root beer pairing. It was still okay, but the combination of flavors with the finish of the root beer and then taking a puff on the cigar, it they combined to make a kind of weird medicinal kind of flavor that it didn't
Mm.
that just didn't work. But the root beer on itself is quite good. The dang red cream soda, it is what it is. If you want something really really sweet to have with the cigar, then go for it. But I don't feel like they enhanced each other at all.
Coop, as you go through your list for the night, what do you think was your best pairing, your favorite pairing?
Um, it was I put maybe the Mexican cola, the main root actually more kind of going back to it. I think it eclipsed the Jones. I had a different cigar than you guys, but I think those were the two that really stood out on that.
So, John, we've got a couple minutes to take an audience question. Yeah. Yes.
I had myself on mute. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
It's all right.
So working a couple different contraptions. So yeah, we got about 5 minutes here, so I think that's
Perfect.
perfect for another question.
All right. So this one's from Adam Demers,
Adam Demers, I think.
Demers, Demers. That sounds about right. Again, horrible pronunciation. He says, "What are your thoughts on more citrus-based sodas or pops like Seven Up or Mountain Dew, Sprite, to pair with cigars?" I don't have much experience with that because I've kind of avoided it, to be honest. I know, Coop, you've actually got a Seven Up there with you, don't you? Or a
It's
Sprite?
Mexican Sprite. Go with Mexican Sprite.
And,
That was good.
have you tried
It's
that
it.
yet?
Actually, I have tried it, but it's the first time I'm pairing it with a cigar. It's got the cane sugar. You got to get a little more of the citrus on it, but again, I kind of call it like the Mexican Coke. It's a lighter in body.
Okay.
And you got, I mean, sometimes with citrus, it's kind of in the boat with the ginger.
Yep.
A very heavy citrus soda, I use it as a palate killer.
Yep.
I mean, it's a bit cleanser, but because it can overwhelm it. But this Mexican Sprite is a good pick.
Okay. Well, if yeah, try that with your pairing and see if that works out.
Yeah, and you can get Mexican Sprite, Mexican Coke in a lot of supermarkets. You just got to look at the bottles very carefully.
Yeah, they
And you'll see
actually,
them.
yeah, they have them in like in my local stores. They'll have like a Latin food section where you get the different spices and things,
Yeah.
and the Jarritos, like John was talking about. I hope I said that right. And they always have like a Seven Up and a Coke and a couple of different things down there. I've never picked one up, but I might actually have to try that now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say this is the best thing to pair with a cigar. I don't think a citrus soda is, but if you're gonna do something, I wouldn't go with like Sunkissed or something like that,
Yeah.
because that's not even really a citrus soda. That's flavored. So, but yeah, I would say go with something with go with a cane sugar soda would be my advice. And like I said, the Sprite's lighter in body.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Coop. I think the problem with citrus is that it is such a dominant flavor profile. I mean, it kind of harkens back to when we do IPA pairing. IPA, has a lot of citrus hoppy character, and I think that flavor is just so strong and so sharp on your tongue. There's when you think about the spectrum of cigar flavors, you think about cedar and cocoa and spices and whatnot. It's not even a contrasting. It's way off the flavor map. As they say, it's not in the same ballpark. It's across the street in the neighborhood corner store. It's just not in the same game. And so I think, as Coop describes his cane version, if it's a lighter citrus, if it's a hint of citrus, I think that might be something that could be interesting. But if it's a full-on citrus, it's probably just going to blow your palate out, and it's going to just be janky with a cigar.
Yeah, I would think when you talk about sodas with fruit in them or like fruit flavored sodas, I want to go with a darker stone fruit like this black cherry that we were talking about, because you got to think that you're going to get some complementary flavors out of that. As far as going with something like, I mean, I don't know if Seven Up or Sprite would work or not. I mean, it seems to an extent that would, like Coop was saying, just kind of a palate cleanser in between. Um,
It wouldn't be my first choice to pair. I mean,
yeah,
all the other sodas, with the exception of the ginger, would probably be ahead of that. Where I think you'll get more out of your cigar. You'll get more out of the pairing, I think.
yeah. I like if you really wanted to go with something and you didn't want to go with, like a heavier soda, and you just wanted something with some bubbles, I'd probably just go with like a sparkling water.
Yep.
Just to have that with it. It's not going to give you much by way of pairing, but it's definitely going to cleanse out that palate a little bit and kind of maybe brighten the flavor of your cigar, if you will.
And I think Jose Blanco's talked about that a lot. If you don't know what to pair, go with sparkling water because the bubbles do reset your palate and give you a better taste experience for a lot of cigars. So if you're gonna pair anything, that's and you don't want to go with something flavored, that's probably the way to go.
He's big on tonic water with that in particular,
Mhm.
which I kind of
Hmm.
I get it because again I think it does do something to do that. I think it accelerates the resetting of the palate. I hate tonic water though,
I
but
hate tonic water as well.
yeah,
It's just the quinine in it is just ugh.
I like it if you're mixing it with some gin and but
Everything that masks the taste of tonic water.
well, I mean, tonic water serves its purpose, but I couldn't just like have some tonic. I could have some club soda, club soda, cut a little lime in there, and I'm good to
Yep.
go. But yeah, I don't know if I could just sip on tonic. But if I'm doing it for a reason, if it's serving its purpose of being a palate cleanser, then sure.
So
Uh,
I
yeah,
think
I think that's about it, right?
I think that
Yeah.
takes us up to the end of our Armed Forces Radio Network segment. We've been a little coherent than some of our other shows because we're just drinking sugar, so we'll be talking 1,000 miles a minute in our After Dark segment. But I want to thank all of our guys and gals out there in the Armed Forces Radio Network listening and tuning into our show. We appreciate you tuning in every week to Cigar Chat and sharing our pairings. Hope you're out there staying safe, and we'll see you next week. We're going to have Johnny Brook from Drew Estate on. We're going to be doing some Drew Estate
Beer.
cigar pairings and some beers. It's going to be a good time. Brooke is always an entertaining guy. We like to pair whether it's whiskey or bourbon or beer. He's always fun. So you can check that out next Wednesday. And because we had a Monday show for Cigar Chat, we're going to be back at our regular new time of Monday because it is baseball season with guests to be determined.
Yeah, we may or may not be back on Monday. We'll see.
There you go. We'll see. So, especially given some of the weird pops we've had tonight, I'm going to say pair better. No, that doesn't make any sense. Drink better, drink less. And we're back.
Dude, this cream soda is over the top.
Man, I don't know the last time I had a red cream soda. Like, I think it's got to have been 15 years.
it's been a long time for me. In fact, when Rob mentioned it, I'm like, yeah, I would like to get one, get
It-
some. I haven't had it.
It's
It harkens back to those days. You remember those? I don't know if you remember this, Rob. Coop's probably old enough to remember this. Those old pop machines that were kind of on their side. So they had the smaller glass bottles on their side, and you'd always have like some Fanta or some grape pop and some cream crush soda in there, and they always had a red cream soda in there as well. And that is like I used to drink those all the time. You go camping, you'd be at some campground, but they'd always have that sort of older style pop vending machine there, and that's where I would always get it. And I would just be drinking 3 or 4 of those a day as a kid.
Man. Yeah, this is it. The first thing I thought was it tastes like melted cotton candy, which is that's. I'm not big on sweet. I mean, I have to be in the mood for it, but when it comes to sodas and things, I do like Coca-Cola and like I said, colas and Dr. Pepper, but I'm more of a cherry soda kind of guy, or even a cherry Coke or something. It's got that little bit of fruity zing to it. That's more of my wheelhouse. But yeah, I'll bring a couple of these to IPCPR for you guys, and you can just go to town on it. I don't think I'll ever drink it again.
I want to seek out some of that coffee soda. That sounds really funky.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's a lot better than it initially sounded to me when I saw it. I thought, okay, that'll make sense. It'll probably make for a good pairing. But it's actually something that I think I would grab.
It yeah, it's
Yeah.
less carbonated too. At
Hmm.
least the Manhattan Special, I find it's less carbonated soda.
Yeah, this is more, and you can kind of see a little bit in here. It's got more of like a creamy root beer kind of quality to it.
Same here, yeah.
Yeah, where it's there's a little bit, almost has a little bit of a head to it that
Yeah.
it's more creamy, I think, than carbonated. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, 40,
But
40 grams of carbs in here. Wow.
I'm not. Don't even look, man. Don't look.
Oh,
Don't
I'll
do
forget
it.
it.
Don't do it.
I had 7 bottles here, and I've drank I've drank half of each of these bottles. I'm gonna be like, forget it. I'm gonna be waking up tomorrow in pain.
You're not
I
even
can.
going to go to sleep. You're just
Oh,
going
I
to be.
know.
It's.
Oh, I'm wired because yeah, we didn't talk about, it, but some of those Mexican colas are much higher in caffeine than you think.
Hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I've noticed that several that I'm having here, like the the red cream soda is caffeine free. Um, the
That's
root,
actually one of the things I really like about root beer is it's
yeah, the
caffeine
root
free.
beer is caffeine free.
Most root beers are caffeine free. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one, I forget which one on the
Barks.
market. Barks is not. Yeah.
Bark says bite.
Yep.
Hmm. This must have caffeine in it. It doesn't say that it's caffeine free. It's kosher though. Um, and the coffee soda obviously does have caffeine in it. I
Little
don't
bit.
even I don't need to look at the bottle for that. Um, so we've got a couple more audience questions here. Um, this one's another one from Eric and Eric Johnson, and this is a broad question, and I feel like we kind of addressed it as the show went on, but we'll get more specific with it. What soda styles do you think complement or contrast cigar flavor profiles without being overly sweet or overpowering? So, when he says styles, I guess he's talking about like a fruit soda, like the cherry, or like a cream soda, or a root beer, cola, something to that effect. I mean, for me, the go-to is, even though it wasn't my favorite pairing tonight, is the root beer for me. I feel like it's just got enough. It's got enough of that body to it. It's got enough sweetness to it that it really does, in general, pair with just about anything. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think for me, when I'm not doing whiskey pairing, I think my go-to is definitely Dr. Pepper. My second is going to be root beer all day long. Again, I think you tend to reach for those craft root beers because it's interesting. It's a funky taste. I like having a different kind of root beer that's less sugar and more root beer flavor. And then I think for me, number three, and I kind of categorize those, cola, and then root beer, and then the number three would be cream soda.
Yeah,
And I
cream soda for sure. That's another one that's up there, although this red cream soda is a bit over the top. One thing that I used to always pair with, and I haven't in a while, and I used to buy this specifically just to pair with, was just Diet A&W. Because it still has that root beer flavor to it, but
yeah,
it's not quite as sweet.
I,
And
I
that was
just
what I would always go with.
just can't get over that aspartame, man. It does something funky to my palate. Like I can, if you were to give me the Coke challenge, like that classic Coke challenge, I would be able to pick that aspartame out just by smelling it. It's just this, ugh,
What
can't do
about
it.
what about you, Coop?
Well, I think the Hanson's, without a doubt, is a brand that easy to get. It really pairs with anything. It's not overpowering. It's a very good soda. I didn't think it was the best pit with the Sumatra, but it still worked.
Mhm.
And it's no caffeine either, which I like about it. Um, do you guys don't drink soda when you review a cigar, though, right?
Mm-mm.
Absolutely not.
I
Okay.
drink
Yeah.
water.
I
Just
mean,
water.
I actually just recently saw someone in their reviews talking about how they pair it with Cuban coffee,
Oh,
which is go to. I mean, how are you pairing a cigar with Cuban? I don't have a problem if you want to review the pairing with that, but you
Yeah.
can't review the cigar with that. And I would say with any of these sodas, this is not what I do for a review.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
it's a different. It's a different. You want to review the pairing, it's fine.
That's actually a good point, John. We never really talk about that, but um, yeah,
let's talk about it.
when I'm reviewing a cigar, it's what I'm water, and it's not just water. Like
Uh,
it's like I don't put ice in it or anything.
Yeah, it's
Like I
like
just
tepid
go,
water.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just go with just
Yeah.
regular water, and because I don't, like any of these things are going to impact the flavor of the cigar, the flavors that you're getting.
Yeah.
They're impacting your palate, and I don't want to use the term irresponsible, but if you're doing a review of a cigar, and in your photos and everything, you're commenting that while you're reviewing the cigar, while you're smoking it, you're pairing it with a Cuban coffee. I don't know who you're talking about, Coop. It doesn't matter, but
I don't
um,
want to pick on anyone in particular. I mean,
yeah,
but I'll give them credit. At least they disclose that. So,
okay,
but yeah, yeah. If it's disclosed, I have less of a problem with it. But at the same time, I don't think it's an accurate way to assess the cigar.
yeah. I mean, in essence,
Yeah,
if it's disclosed, like
yeah.
you said, it should just
Right,
be. You should look at it as a pairing review because
right.
it's a different beast.
Like the guys
Um,
at Casas Fumandas, they do a lot of beer pairings, but all their reviews and they do a great job with that. All their reviews are written like that. So again, with those guys, I don't really have a because that's what they've done
that's what they're
forever.
doing. Yeah.
Right. But some of the other stuff, when they're not really talking about the pairing, they just kind of make a comment. I paired this with Cuban coffee. Yes, they disclose it, but in the end, I don't think they're doing a service to the review. I just think it's not accurate.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I
Go ahead.
think, and I agree. I mean, I think about when I do a review. I mean, I get pretty crazy, right to the point where if I'm having food, it's almost like swimming. You know, if I eat, I kind of put a buffer between when I'm eating and I'm smoking. So like there could be an hour to an hour and a half, and there's time in between where I've brushed my teeth without toothpaste just to get my palate as clean, like really as clean as possible, because I know from tasting that having a beverage or having a particular food or spice or whatever, even an hour and a half, you can still sometimes taste that. So I try to do it as as clean as possible. I can't do it first thing in the morning because it usually just wrecks me first thing in the morning. So I'll tend to do my pairing, sort of have breakfast, have an early lunch, and then try to arrange my pairing or my reviews around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and my palate is fresh and clean. And that, I mean, yeah, because anything can really jack your palate up for a while.
It's funny. I do the same thing, and my wife gives me a hard time. Like if I do a lot of my reviews on the weekends, and um, oh, I didn't post a review this week.
Fail.
Oh wow,
You're
that's
fired.
I didn't post my review. I smoked for damn it. I smoked for the Atelier show. I smoked the Cote d'Or, or however you say it.
What do you think of that?
It was not in my wheelhouse.
It was a big disappointment for what was their most premium cigar, and they make some great cigars. I'm not knocking it, but
They
that
do.
one was just a miss in my book. I don't know, I just didn't. It wasn't a terrible cigar, but it wasn't an ultra premium cigar, which is what that is.
The flavor, I would classify it as like an earth bomb. That was what
Mm.
I just got a bunch of
You
dirty kind of
nail it.
earth
Yeah,
flavors to it. Yeah, and it didn't. It had some spice, but not a lot. There was no sweetness to be found. And it's funny because the way they talked about it on the show is that was one of the cigars that they're happiest about, and I know a lot of people loved it.
they
For
did. A
me,
lot
it
of
was,
people did love it, and I took a
yeah,
lot of heat with my review on that too.
yeah. For me, it was a miss. It wasn't horrible. I smoked, and it's a big
It's not
cigar
horrible.
too.
It's not a horrible cigar. I
Yeah,
agree.
it's a bigger cigar. I don't know if it was really classified as a Churchill, but it's pretty damn close.
It was,
Uh,
yeah. It
and
was.
it's a good 2 hours and 20 minutes I smoked that thing for, and give or take. And this would all be in my review had I written it this week. So it'll be in next week. I'll do two. And yeah, I mean it was yeah. That's yeah. I think that's the best way I can describe it. It was just kind of it was an earth bomb, which
Now they're
yeah.
bringing it back, but they're bringing it back in a different size, and they're taking the wrapper down a priming. So I'm kind of curious to see what that does, because it's going to be a different cigar.
Well, yeah, they were talking about it. It's got a. I'll have to. If I could be speaking out of turn, I want to say they're using a Rosado wrapper on it, but I don't remember. They got into more specifics during Cigar Chat, and they were talking about it specifically. And I can't even remember what it was called, but it is. I believe it's a not completely different blend, but it's going to be a different cigar. At least that was the way I understood it. But
It's called La Tache. So
okay,
it's going to be called La Tache, and from what I understand, they're taking it's the same wrapper but with a lower priming.
we may be talking about different cigars.
The Cote d'Or,
Yeah, no, the one they're doing this year.
it's called La Tache.
Well, but they have another one that's coming out. It's called Cote de something.
The Cote d'Or La Tache is the one at least
Oh,
I
okay,
got. Yeah.
okay,
It's
yeah,
under the Cote d'Or line, yeah.
okay,
It's
okay,
they're calling it La Tache for whatever reason,
okay,
but that's the name of the cigar, yeah.
yeah, okay. Yeah, they talked about it a lot on the show. I'll have to go back and revisit that. But yeah,
One
Logan disappeared about 15 minutes into the show.
Yeah, I
So
remember that.
he was having some issues. He dropped off, and then he got back on, and then he dropped off, and then he just dropped off for good. And he sent me a text, and he was like, "Yeah, man, my internet went down or whatever." He was good enough to text me the timing though, so I knew when the show needed to end,
nice.
which was nice. Um,
One thing I wanted to comment before I forget, Rob, because I was listening to the Nomad show on the way to work, and it struck me as odd. So I'm just going to throw it out there. They're razzing you a little bit about your your high school or junior high picture, and you mentioned that then you've undergone a name change, and you said drop a knowledge. So I'm going to drop some knowledge on you. My name is not the same name I was born with either. Boom.
I guess I can admit this now. I was lying.
Oh, that's a shame.
I just didn't want I didn't want people to look up and find that picture. Which
That's fair.
I've looked and it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't. It exists. And
Yeah, you're not going to find something from the '90s in the digital era. There's no
yeah.
way.
It's. I don't even know if it was the '90s. It might have been '89. But it's the funniest fucking thing about that. Oh, we're in After Dark, so
We're
I
in
can say
After Dark.
fuck.
You can say
Um,
fuck all you want.
what you
No,
can't
no
see
censors.
behind me is that the back half of my office is boxes. And every time I go see my folks, they send me home with a box of stuff,
Oh yeah,
of stuff from my childhood.
stuff from your childhood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was cleaning out the office, which you also can't tell, but I'm going through some of these boxes, and I found that picture. Like I found when you were a kid, you get the big eight
Yeah,
by
the big
ten, and
portraits.
then the
Yeah.
5x7s, and then the
Yeah.
little ones. And I found a 5x7, and I was tempted to snap a photo and text it to Logan, but then I thought, like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. What are you
Uh,
doing?
I was rocking the mullet hard,
Wow.
flat top, and the mullet, and the mullet in the back. It was
Now I shouldn't give you a hard time about that because at one point when in my blunder years I had a permanent. Hmm. Yeah. So I think permanent trumps mullet. I mean, it was just like it was funk.
I can picture that.
It was.
I would pay money to see it.
Oh, that picture's never coming out. Just like the mullet pictures never coming out. That permanent picture
Oh
never
man,
coming out.
that is too funny, John with a perm.
Yep. Little orphan John.
Oh man. Okay, not to bring it back to cigars, but we do have one more question, and this is a Coop specific question here. This one's from Bob Dog, and Bob Dog would like to know how the formation of the CMA came about.
Um, there's a few different ways to look at it. My rationale for forming it was really a fostering of collaboration and to just kind of really exchange ideas. Now, I've had the idea for a while, and that was really the concept. But what triggered it is there were a few issues at IPCPR about 2 years, 3 years ago
Mhm.
that I think accelerated the need to do this. But there was also a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation about the CMA that it was put out there to be this negotiating tool for IPCPR, and it's not. It's not meant to be this heavyweight, rigid organization. It was just meant to kind of recognize some of the different members and collaborate with them. And share best practices. It's not more than that. I don't ever envision it being more than that. But I mean, we did come up with the awards, which are I think growing. I think
Mhm.
it's only been 2 years, and that's an example of the fostering of collaboration there. Um,
Sure.
but there's been a lot of I found that a lot of the early guys were resistant to join, and that's fine. Um, a lot of the newer guys, I think, were more inclined to join, thinking because I think they could pick up these best practices. So I think it made sense, and I think it's important to help the newer guys who are coming along right now. It really is, because certain people may not be around forever.
Yeah, and really, and guys, we're talking about the Cigar Media Association, is what CMA stands for,
Yeah,
and and yeah, it's I don't want to say foster along the new group, but in a way it's the benefit for it's twofold in a way where you can have the newer guys can join. It gives them a bit of legitimacy with what they're doing, especially if they're new and they're trying to get their foothold in the industry. And like you said, collaboration and things of that nature. It's I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad to see that it's working.
yeah.
Um,
There were a lot of rumors like, "Hey, we were trying to make CMA people only get into the IPCPR." No, no, I mean, show it was. I mean, hey, they're trying, to put, to cut. No, it wasn't the case. It was basically we offered a relationship with the IPCPR, but that's pretty much been it. I mean, we have since that there haven't been problems in the last 2 years at IPCPR,
Yep.
and I think it's been more CMA members there, and I'll just kind of say that. So I think we got that issue put to bed, and I think this feud with the IPCPR and online media is over. I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
And that's probably for the best because I don't think a lot of our audience realizes that fortunately or unfortunately, all of the media tends to be judged by the same measuring stick. So if we can help all of the media sort of rise to a better level, and as you say, help some of the new media that comes out, new media come out and navigate some of those waters, it's really better for everybody.
And there's different levels. There are guys who are in the CMA who are hobbyists, and
Yep.
that's totally fine. Paul and I run our piece like a business, and that's fine too. I mean, we're not trying to exclude anyone. I think that's the idea. Is hey, if you're, you could do what you want, and we can work with the different levels there.
One thing I just want to mention to our audience, Coop, Stogie Geeks is moving to a new time and a new night. When is that happening?
Oh, you're gonna hate me. It's Monday night.
Yeah, no, I thought it was Monday night.
Yeah, it's moving in May. And I'll be point blank. Paul has another show he does on Thursday nights for years.
Yep,
Um,
the IT podcast for security.
yeah,
Yeah,
and to be honest with you, it's hard to him to do two shows, but it's harder. I'm always the one who wants to start on time, and there's a short window. And Paul, not to pick on him, he's in that studio and it's eyes on him and people are in there, they want to talk to him and stuff.
yeah.
So it was getting very difficult to start the show on time and end it at a reasonable hour. So based on travel schedules, we're going to move the show to Monday, and it's going to be an earlier start. We're probably going to move it to like 6:30 I think it's actually
7
6:30,
Eastern Standard.
6:30 Eastern Standard. Yeah, so you can always catch the replay, which is good. But we are going to move it because we are just getting it's going late is very tough on both of us.
No, I think that's great. I mean, we've kind of had Cigar Chat and Stogie Geeks overlapping because we've always had it on the Thursday. So that actually works well because now I've got my Monday podcast with Stogie Geeks and then I've got my Thursday podcast with Cigar Chat. So that works out well.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times you have guys have a guest on at 8, and I have to start Stogie Geeks at 8:30, and I'm like, boy, I'm really liking this. So I think it will work out well, and certainly when we do the year-end show, we could do it we could do it now on Thursday night. So
Yeah, absolutely. There will be there are some cigar chats that are going to happen on Monday. We had one this week, just because my schedule with baseball gets tough, and when I have those Thursday travel day games where I'm getting the first pitch is 12:35. It would be nice if I knew when the final out was going to be.
you don't.
Yeah, that's I go
That's
back.
baseball.
Absolutely, I go back to when I first started working in sports, and when I was actually interning in college, and piece of advice I got that I never followed was never work in a sport that doesn't have a clock. And
Yeah.
I picked the only one that doesn't. So, and it's tough, man. Like if we've got a 12, and John and we've talked about this because there's Wednesday day games a lot this year too, and I think our pairing show is going to be more impacted by my baseball schedule than anything else. The nice thing there is we don't do a lot of guests, so we can push it back if we need to. What I would hate to do is have a show on Thursday. I've got a 12:35 start. Figure I'm going to be out of there by 3:35. You figure a 3-hour game, and then it takes me about an hour and a half to get home. So theoretically, we could start at 5, but I don't want to have a guest that's ready to go at 5 and I'm still on my way home or whatever. So we just avoid that and go on Mondays. But that's not going to be too common
We
this
looked
season.
we looked at Fridays, and we thought it was gonna be too hard to book guests on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Dojo and Half Ash already go on Fridays too, but they're not every week, those shows. And then Wednesday, when Paul and I travel, it's a little difficult because I like to use that, I like to use that middle of the week. A lot of times I'll travel on Tuesday and then come back Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon for the show. So that Wednesday was out, so we opted for Monday. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think it's going to be I think it will improve the show quality overall for us. So I think we'll just be able to do a better production with it.
there
Nice.
you go.
Well, speaking of not having guests on Cigar Chat, as I mentioned, we're going to have Johnny Brook on next week for a spotlight on Drew Estate. That'll be a lot of fun. Brooks always good times. That show pretty much writes itself. And then the following week, we've got Claudio on with the Mombacho pairing. So
Oh, that's
that's,
right.
I mean, that's gonna be a fantastic show.
That
That's gonna
that
be really
is. I know
entertaining.
we're trying to get him sometime, before IPCPR as well. So
Yeah, he's a
uh,
blast, man.
I have
To
not met him. I know the Mombacho guys well, but I have not met Claudio. So
You didn't meet him at the event
I'm
in
sorry, I did meet him at the event, but I don't know him as well as I
yeah,
know the other, Marcus and
Marcus, yeah.
Marcus, yeah.
and Matt, who I know for a while, and
Yeah,
Cameron. I know those guys. Yeah.
Logan
Claudio's
and I were fortunate
oh,
enough to, sorry to cut you off there. I
no,
was
you're
just
good.
going to say, Logan and I were fortunate enough when we went down to Miami before the Cigar Federation Cigar Safari to sit and have dinner with Claudio and his wife. And I mean, it's just one of those guys where he could talk tobacco for 6 hours, and every moment of that time would be absolutely riveting.
Yeah, it's I tell you, I'm doing the Miami rounds down here, and I was with Jack Tarano today, and I mean, man, eating with Jack Tarano is an adventure. I'll just say it once with him, and now I just drank all this soda. Is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and it's 9:30 there, so you're yeah,
9:30, and I
yeah,
haven't eaten dinner, and I have
Oh
no
man.
desire to eat dinner.
yeah. No, you're stuffed on
Oh my goodness,
sugar and
I'm gonna be
sugar and carbonation.
wide.
Yeah. No, that makes for a fun evening, I'm sure.
Yeah, but
Um,
that would have been pretty cool. Claudio just seems like just I don't know him that well, but I've seen him at the Mombacho dinner and on so he just obviously has a real interesting story.
yeah, yeah, he's a good dude, really good dude. A lot of fun to chat with him. That was we just had him on Cigar Chat
A couple weeks ago.
couple 3 weeks ago, give or take,
Yep.
and that was a lot of fun. So,
So he's doing the
um,
pairing show this time.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So what are we? Do we know what we're pairing that week, John?
Well, we're pairing a Mombacho. What we're pairing it with, yeah, no, we've got that all strategized out, Rob,
Get
as we
that
do with
Hennessy.
every
Get
pairing
him to
show.
send you that
Oh,
Hennessy stuff. Remember that
yeah.
Hennessy?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
remember it.
we
Yeah.
talked about
I
that.
dream about it. What are
Oh
you
my
talking?
goodness, was that unbelievable?
Oof, man. And
Whiskey Angels on my tongue.
yeah, and
Oh,
I'm not a cognac guy. I feel like I've
me
said this
either.
exact thing several times, but
Oh,
man,
It was
that was
magical.
now that was their
special.
200th anniversary edition or something to that
Yeah,
effect.
It
Um,
was it was an anniversary edition. I
yeah,
do
might have
forget it.
even been the 250 actually.
something like that.
It
And
was
the
it was up
cocktails they
there.
made that night. That was we've talked for. It's funny, man. For an event that you go to at IPCPR, and there's events every night. Of
That was something special.
Yeah, that was exactly that was the most. And I told them this as we were leaving. It's the most unique event I've ever been to, where there was, 5 or 6 different hors d'oeuvre dishes going around.
Tobacco infused menu. It was a
Yeah,
tobacco.
Yeah,
Yeah, this was
yeah,
a
it was really,
tobacco infused menu.
really, really cool. And they had the Hennessy guys were there making tweaks on. They had a Hennessy with a tweak on a Sazerac with a Lagavulin wash in the glass and things like that. It was just really, really cool. And the artist, what was that artist's name? I can't remember his name.
Oh,
Mm, I want to say it was something like
Todd,
Yeah,
yeah,
Todd. I feel like it was like Todd Smith or something basic. But the artwork that they had there was really, really cool. It was a nice event, and it was a unique mix of media and I
Todd
think they had
White, Todd
Todd
White.
White.
yeah,
Yeah,
Todd White.
Yep.
Yep.
they had a unique mix of media and I think there was even some retailers there, and it was really cool. It had a very cool vibe to it. I liked it a
Yeah,
lot. A
yeah,
lot of fun.
and it was in this old house, a New Orleans style, classic New Orleans house. Um, is where it was. It was in a neighborhood. This thing was actually it wasn't in like a
Yeah,
hotel hospitality. It was actually in a neighborhood at a New Orleans style house.
yeah, it was like the mansion or something is what it was. The New
Yeah,
Orleans
yep,
mansion or something is what it
yep.
was called. And I remember when
Getting a cab home was an no cabs in this neighborhood.
no, we John and I we walked
We hoofed it.
from
That's where we ended up. I was with another guy and we ended up walking.
yeah we walked from our hotel in. And I remember when we were walking in, we're walking into this neighborhood, and we're like, are we going the right way? And you've
You
got
went
your
under this
Jeep.
highway, and you went under this
Yeah,
highway. Yeah,
yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah,
And then when we left, we actually went and I forget the name of the bar that we went to, and we met up with
with
Johnny
Johnny
Brook.
Brook.
And Logan was there already, I think, and there was a couple other guys that I can't remember who. And I remember that there was in that neighborhood there was kind of like a little industrial street, and we walked down this street. And it was all these. There was no street lights, and it's these warehouses and things,
Yeah.
and it was quiet. And John and I are looking around, and, and John goes, and this is how Rob and John got stabbed, because it was. I mean, you're walking around, and you're
Oh
like,
yeah.
okay, wait a second, what's going on here?
It,
And then
Didn't we walk past the distillery? Like,
yeah,
just
and
out of
yeah.
the blue, there's a distillery there.
It
yeah,
was like you walked in the neighborhood and then you went under that underpass, which is the bridge that crosses the Mississippi, and then you walked into that industrial area. It
Yeah.
was very weird.
yeah, yeah. It's a really cool area, and the house was really cool. If the way that they had everything set up, and there was a lot of lights and everything. If you were in that house like at night, like by yourself, creepy as hell, man.
Oh yeah.
It would be haunted. I would convince that house
Yeah,
to be haunted. I would.
absolutely. There were some entities there for sure. That's an absolute. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Well, I think that pretty much takes us to the end of our After Dark segment here. Thanks again, Will, for popping on the show, and
Thank
appreciate
you
you being
very
flexible
much.
with your scheduling.
I appreciate you guys being flexible with my schedule too. I know we tried to pull this off last week, so thank you very much. I mean, the show's going great, guys. I mean, this has become one of the flagship shows out there, so keep it up. I mean, you're 63 episodes in, and it's going real strong.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
very much.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, make sure to check us out next week. We're going to have a lot of fun pairing with Beers and Johnny Brook. I mean, that, like I said, that show pretty much writes itself. We
Absolutely.
really don't need to prep for that show at all. Just have a good time. So you want to get your questions in. We'll have the show page up early so you guys can get your questions, and I'm sure we won't get to any of them because we'll be having too much fun, but get them in anyways. And as we always say on Sharing Our Pairings, make sure to drink better, but drink less.